Hello and welcome to another chess video. We are nearing the business end of the Tata Steel Chess Masters 2019. It's round 12 and the standings before this round are that Magnus, Carlsen and Anish, Giri have 7.5 points out of 11, and their only rival in a way is Nepomniachtchi, who has 7 points. Now Jan will be very upset about his loss in the 10th round against Jorden van Foreest, because if he had just drawn that game, he would be the joint leader. So it looks like in this game he wanted to make up some ground. He's playing against Sam Shankland, who's coming off what he described as the worst moment of his career, when he resigned in a dead drawn position against Anish Giri. And we see that after e4, Nepomniachtchi goes for d6, which means that he wants a complicated game and he wants to play for a win. d4, knight to f6. I'll mention that as I'm recording this, yes, Giri did just finish his game. I'm not going to spoil the result, and Carlsen is still playing. So I'm going to a concert tonight, so my video on Carlsen's game will probably be quite late, but for now we'll look at this one because it's relevant to the top of the table. Nepomniachtchi a good chance here to catch up to the other guys. g6, so bishop e3. This is the main line. What White usually plays against the perch. Quite often the queen comes to d2, and White wants to trade these bishops. But now, c6, bishop g7 are the main moves, but Nepomniachtchi plays a6, which is sort of what you play in the modern defense. The modern is basically when black has this setup with a knight on g8 still, saving the knight till later. h3 by White, and this is usually played because you want to play queen d2 without black having knight g4, which would target the bishop and try to win the bishop pair. And now e6, so restrained play. Black wants to stay dynamic and attack the center later. White just gets on with the development. Bishop to d3. The knight comes out, knight to f3, and black plays b5, expanding on the queen side. After e5, he continues with b4, and Shankland thought he should take on e5 here, and was surprised by this move at b4. And now knight e4 by Shankland. You have to move this knight, and the most logical move is to take. And here Nepomniachtchi goes for a French type of structure by playing d5, hitting the bishop, and now c5. So this is a pawn structure that you would usually see in the French defense. But White, he's well prepared to fortify his center and try to keep it intact. Nepomniachtchi took on c3 and played queen to a5. So he wants to target this pawn. Bishop d2, a very logical move, defending the base of the pawn chain. And now, in some cases, you are thinking about maybe c4, attacking the queen, ripping open the position because White is ahead in development. So queen to a3, getting out of that. Because now c4, this guy will attack, so queen to e2. And now a tactical move by Nepomniachtchi, but maybe not a good one. He played bishop to h6. And the idea, of course, is that if you take it, I take on c3, and you can't protect the rook on a1. Black would win material. Crooked arrow, but we'll fix it. So after bishop h6, Shankland played rook to b1, and now this trade. And I'm not sure if this is a very good trade for black, because he's left with a lot of black square holes and weaknesses in his camp, and he might regret having traded these dark squared bishops. c4, the bishop goes back, and on this move and some further moves into the future, black can take the pawn here on a2. It's a very risky pawn to take, and he didn't do it. And perhaps it's an understandable decision, but maybe black had to yeah, get something for his lack of development, at least a pawn. Now you have a pass pawn, which maybe you can push and use as a trump. But yeah, taking on a2, white can choose between going for like an h4, h5 push, or simply castling, and then going for a kingside attack. The king and the squares and this pawn, very weak points for black, so Nepo doesn't take on a2, he plays rook to b8. We have a trade, and now white starts to use the positioning of the rook on h1 and plays h4. The idea is to play h5 here. Can black prevent that? It's really hard to do. In the game he played h6, but if he plays h5, then you're simply too weak. White can immediately go knight g5. Let's say you try to improve the knight and maybe attack this pawn like he did in the game. But white can start attacking f7. And here even is a nice tactic. The queen comes back, but white simply has a plan of bringing the rook here and winning this guy. He can win the pawn on h5 as well, and this is a winning position for white. If the king starts running, just queen h6 check, and then the rook enters the game. So Nepo didn't fancy this position and he played h6, but the white pushed on h5, and this forces g5 because otherwise this guy will drop, so g5. And now a characteristic knight maneuver for this position, a very weak square here. How do we take advantage of it? And this is sort of like a bad position you would get out of a McCutcheon French, if you're familiar with that variation. But white just played knight h2, and this knight is simply coming to the f6 square. And also we can push f4 to open up things. Knight c6, knight g4, and black goes for this plan of targeting the pawn on c3. And now finally white defends the pawn on a2, which black could have taken for a number of moves but didn't. And yeah, white is ready with a radical rook protecting the pawn, and black is sort of left without a plan here. Bishop d7, f4, breaking through on the king side. Black more or less has to take. Queen takes f4, and you can't even take this because the queen simply drops back, and the pin here on the third rank wins a piece. So Nepo goes on the defensive here, but simply too little too late. White even has time for a4 here, pushing the knight away. Then rook f3. Nepo tries to improve the knight, but now white just brings the last piece in, not doing anything on d1, so bishop c2. Coming to this diagonal, eyeing the g6 square. Very straightforward game here, and well played by Shankland. Bishop g6. And yeah, in the game, he didn't take. He played king d8, but if you do take, f takes g6, and queen takes e6 is a devastating move. You don't have a lot of squares, and the knight is coming in with deadly effect here, and rook f7 is also a move that's hard to deal with. So you can't take on g6. Nepo tried king to d8, but now the pawns just start dropping off. Bishop takes f7, king c7, and another pawn drops. Queen takes e6. After knight c8, simply queen to f6, and Nepo had seen enough. He's down 2 pawns, and he can hardly move a piece. The queen can't go anywhere because of the threat on this guy. This guy has to protect this guy. This guy's just horrible, and you know, white can just improve his pieces, improve the knight, maybe push the pawn. So that's game over. So yeah, a very nice redemption by Shankland, kind of going from the worst game of his career to on paper the best one, winning the highest rated player that he has ever beaten. So yeah, that was a game from round 12. I hope to be with you later tonight with hopefully Magnus Carlsen's game, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.